Okay, everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about what a 3F scan is, why it's important, and how you make one. So first, here we are in the FlexColor software. So FlexColor is the proprietary software that the Hasselblad FlexTite X5 scanner uses. And this is a free software that you guys are going to be able to download at home. In a follow-up video, I'll show you how to do that, and I'll show you some of the ways that you can work within the interface once you've already done the 3F scan. But right now, what we need to talk about is how you create a 3F scan and what it is exactly and why it's important. So to start, what a 3F scan is, it's a raw scan. So you essentially get a raw file out of the scanner. So that doesn't mean you can open it up in Camera Raw. What it means is it creates basically a digital copy of your negative that you can then reopen in the FlexColor software, do any sort of corrections and editing that you want to do, and then output a TIFF file from there. So the reason why this is really cool is because you can make that 3F scan. You don't have to worry about doing the time-consuming stuff like the corrections and the curves and all that sort of thing. And then you can bring that 3F file home and work with it on your home computer. So what that might look like in this class, moving forward, since we're doing this remote now, is that if we can figure out a way for you guys to get your scans, or rather get your negatives to me, then I can create 3F scans for you here on campus and then send you the digital files so that then you can take those 3F scans, open them up in FlexColor at home on your computers, do all the processing, learn how to run this software, which is part of the class, and then output the files and then continue to work with them in Photoshop. So it's a really cool workflow that we might be able to kind of work with moving forward in this class. Just to go a little bit further into the 3F scan and why it is also a very cool thing to be able to have and be able to work with is you can think of it as like having a digital copy of your negative on your computer that you can come back to time and time again and rescan without actually having to have the scanner or the negative present. So it essentially creates a virtual setup of your negative and your scanner at home. So let's say you scan your negative, you go back a few days later and you realize that you've lost your highlights or you've lost your shadows or there's something you don't like about it. You can always open up that 3F file, do all of your corrections again, and output a new version of that file. And you can do that as many times as you want. So like I said, really, really helpful. It's going to be very helpful for us moving forward when we're doing this remotely. The scanner can do 3F scans, but it can also just scan straight to TIFF, which typically is not a bad way of doing it. But having that 3F scan is always a good thing to do, to have a backup copy. So let me show you how this is done. You guys can't see this because I'm only sharing my screen right now, but I do have one of the negatives loaded up in the negative carrier in the scanner. By the way, there's a video uploaded on Canvas that shows you how to operate the scanner physically, shows you how to load negatives and all those sorts of things. So take a look at that video to learn how the scanner functions physically. And then we're going to be talking about the software here. So like I said, I loaded up a negative into the negative carrier and it's sitting in the scanner and it's ready to go. So what I want to do, very first thing, is click the 3F button right here on the top left-hand side. And that will bring up this separate dialog box that are our 3F scan settings. So you can give it a file destination. Usually it creates a Scratchpad folder on the desktop, so we'll just leave it there. You can give it a job name and an image name. So I've done 3 of these already. This is the 4th one. So I'm going to title it Box 4. You could tell it to save and output TIFF if you wanted to, but I'm not going to have it do that right now. I just want the 3F file. You have to tell it the film type, so either positive, color negative, or black and white negative. So I'm going to choose black and white negative. Then you tell it the film setup, so you can give it black and white negative standard. If in this case, it's only black and white negative standard. But if I were to choose, say, color negative, I could choose a bunch of different film types that they have preloaded. So I can say Kodak Portra 400NC, for example. But like I said, we're scanning black and white negative, so I'm going to say black and white negative, and then black and white negative standard as my setup. You tell it a frame size, so depending on what size film you're scanning, you would have to tell it. So they have 35 millimeter, 645, 66, 67, and then eventually 4 by 5 inches down at the bottom. So 4 by 5 inches is what I want to select. And then you can tell it to either auto crop, which will crop into the image, or full size. I'm going to leave everything at full size so you guys can decide your crops later. There's this checkbox for auto levels. And what that means is as it's scanning it through, it's going to give it an auto level adjustment just to try to get the contrast and the brightness and everything sort of right. But this doesn't really matter at all because remember, we're scanning a raw file. So when I open this back up, it'll have these auto levels applied to the image, but when I do my adjustment, I can just tweak them and make it look how I want. So you can leave that checked, you can leave it unchecked, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna leave it checked in this case. So lastly, we come to our scanning resolution. So we have, up here, it gives us a prediction about how big the file is gonna be. So 463 megabytes if I leave the scanner resolution at 100%. So what 100% scanning resolution effectively gets me is 67 by 85 centimeters at an output PPI of 300 pixels per inch. I could say if I don't need this file to be so big, if I don't need it, and that's roughly 30 by 24 inches or something like that, close to that. If I don't need it to be that big, I can change my scanning resolution to say 50% or something else, and it'll adjust the size for me. But I always think it's a good idea just to scan at 100% resolution because you can always scale down in Photoshop later on if you want to. But for right now, we're gonna leave it at 100%. And you'll see when we come back in and start processing our 3F files, we actually have the option to go to 200% scanning resolution. That doesn't mean we have that much more optical resolution. It's basically just a digital scale up, but effectively you can get 40 by 50 inch scans out of this thing, maybe even a little bit bigger than that. And it looks really, really good. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video when we actually start working with the 3F scans back in FlexColor. But just to get the scan done, this is all I need to do. So name it, tell it what type of film you're setting up, the frame size, 4 by 5 in this case, and then the output resolution, and then we'll hit scan. And what it's going to do, and you guys can't see this right now, but it's pulling the negative into the scanner. It's adjusting its aperture and focus based on where the film plane is, and then it's gonna quickly do a scan. So once it's done, it will put that file into the scratchpad on the desktop, and then the next step would be opening it back up into FlexColor and start working with your corrections and adjustments. So that's all I want to share in this video, but there will be another video, a follow-up video on how to start working with the 3F files back into FlexColor, and then there will be another video showing you guys kind of how to download the software. I'm going to put it on Canvas, and then where you can find the video that shows you how to actually use the scanner physically, or when and if we get back and you guys can start doing that. So that's all for now. Keep an eye out for the future videos.